What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are coming to you with another Cosmonic Brood War castover, and today we are dealing with Btyb88 up against TheShambler. Now, isn't that a sight to behold? You guys remember this time around? It's obviously a different map, but the last time we saw these two duke it out, it was against it was on Boscovine by the Beaver, and this time it's on Iceberg by Veek. And I did mention when I actually looked through the map that Iceberg is called Iceberg because the tile set is ice, which is like a reference to an unlisted video that most people haven't seen. So, well, you know what, man? You can't say that my jokes aren't interesting. They're very nuanced and layered. You had to be there. And looks like Shambler has had some silliness that I didn't catch. I should mention that we have significantly overhauled some things. So I believe this is the version. Yes, this should be the version where wandering has been updated. So for people who don't know, this is a very important mechanic about Brood War. Is the worker wandering, where if there's already somebody harvesting, say you're harvesting this mineral field that I have selected with one worker, then if you decide to harvest it with another worker, like you just order somebody to do that, and the first one is still harvesting it, then that second worker who just arrived will oftentimes fuck off and do something else. Now, the main thing that this is a problem with is when we have a situation where like the mineral field is lower yield right next to it. And when we consider that, it's like, oh, well, that's obviously a problem. We wouldn't want to wander. I actually want two guys to just fully saturate this mineral field. And so, as a result of that, the general change or whatever is that Veek was able to figure out a way to make it so that wandering only happens when two people are already there. Like one is mining and one is in queue, and then you order another one. So, with that being said, it's just something to keep track of now. It's always, I think, going to be more efficient to like double saturate the 8s and then go for the 6s. But it also kind of depends on distance. Like if the 6s are right close and the 8s are a little bit further away, maybe that's a little bit different. But it's something to pay attention to now. So because we have Shambler going up against Ben, and Shambler is significantly more experienced, I would say, than Ben, I suspect that's probably why he's gone Terran. He wants to practice his Terran, and it's maybe his weakest race. I guess you'd have to ask the Shambler that how he feels about that. But I suspect that's got something to do with it. And Ben has been playing Protoss a decent amount, so you know maybe he can give Mr. Shambler what for. The two contestants here, the two players, we're talking about a selection bug that has since been fixed, so you can sort of ignore that or try to. I was trying to. You can imagine I was not successful. Let's see if, does Ben have the guts? Ah, there you go. See? You can do it. It's possible. So a couple of vultures here, and it's kind of a trepidatious situation as Terran when your opponent already has Draconins on your side of the map. The double gateway expand, or not expand, but double gateway move should have been scouted as well. Double warden afterwards, you're already almost there to an expansion, bro. I'm not sure that was necessary, and maybe you should expand, right? You got a lot of money. I looked away, and Draconin has already died. It didn't proc this mine, so I wonder how it died. Maybe there was another mine on top. This Draconin just standing guard in the middle of the map. We haven't really talked about the map, so I guess I can take a look at that, and we will pause in the middle of that battle, because it's not that important, right? It's more important that I look over the map, guys. So, so we obviously have a very wide situation, a very white situation as well. Jeez, don't look at the minimap too closely, guys. Your retinas might burn. But that's just Ice World for you. We even have like a white-ish color. What is this color? Is this snow? It's periwinkle. Okay, it's not quite snow. That would have been really funny. There is a color called snow, and it's not so good. Unlike the player in Brood War. He's very good. So your main opens up into this natural expansion with this choke. And then up here, you've got a safe base, and it's got more gas. And you pretty much always want to take this, in my experience, because this one's actually quite hard to hold as Terran, at least. So I've got limited experience on this map. That's sort of my read. There's these corner bases that are much easier to attack into because they're much more open, and they're even siegeable and droppable and stuff, or just attackable with flyers. So you really want to, sort of... You want to take this when you're good and ready, and not anytime sooner. It has a lot of minerals and a decent amount of gas, so it's sort of valuable in that sense. And then you have this base, which is kind of normal, and I don't know how defensible it is, right? You got this ramp, and that creates a ground pathway that's a little bit of a curve. And so when I'm looking at this Draconin standing guard, I'm thinking these vultures could try to go around it by coming down and around here. It's obviously a roundabout path, and it would eventually lead up to the natural. But of course, the double warden is nearly finished for Ben, so that probably wouldn't be a problem. And of course, you could also try to go around up here near the, like around the iceberg, as it were. And of course, this is an XY mirrored map, and so you already know what the map is all about. So let's check it out. It just unpauses by itself when you do that. I think Mesk was commenting on that before. So there you go, getting you mileage out of the flash shielding. And he'll even pop that mine, so... What's yours is mine, as the saying goes. There is a bunker out. He can put vultures in it, because he has no other units. He is getting a Goliath. He is actually keeping his money low, this Shambler. He's got a number of vultures here. He's going to put the wounded ones in there, and he's got the ones with mines that are waiting, sitting to be smooched. So it's something that I have tried to do. Oh, it looks like this is dangerously close to going off. We'll see if that ends up actually happening. A Zealot on the way as well. 4 Wardens. Okay, well, you know, say nothing about Ben other than he is very defensive, apparently. Very scared of vultures. See, if I'm in Ben's shoes here, what the first thing that I'm thinking of is, and I'll pause again for the point, is I'm thinking I've got the double gateway, and I've got a little bit of gas harvesting now. I'm like fully saturated on that. And I've kind of got my opponent a little bit contained. I mean, not really, because my units aren't at his gate, right? But I'm fairly safe, and it looks like he is going to try to expand. It looks like that's why the scribe is over here. I suspect, based on the mineral count, that Shambler is also intending to do that. And maybe both players are going to go for this base, which would be really funny, but we'll see. Anyway, I would try to maybe support my contain. And Zealots are not a bad call. Like, most people just build nothing but Dracodons. Shout out DF. But I think Zealots are a pretty legit call here. You just need to, well, ideally not lose all of your durability on them. All the vultures are now pouring out of the ramp. They force your enemy units to fall back, and that's the main thing. Now, there are some mines here, and only 2, and that vulture is the first one to get targeted, although it's not killed. There is one that's very low HP. Yeah. Still targeting the one that has mines. Okay. All right. Yay, there it goes. All right, so for 3 vultures, he lost a Zealot and a Dracodon. That's not too bad. Of course, the Dracodons are the ones you want to keep alive as much as possible, because the fact is... Oh my god, a 5th Warden before an expansion. Yeah, Ben's playing way too defensively, I think. The command center being built over here, it'll float downwards later. Yeah, this is a kind of a rough spot. Like, your opponent can't really break out here with just vultures unless you lose all of your Dracodons, right? They have to kite back from the Zealots, because the Zealots will deal a lot of damage. And obviously during the time that they're kiting and trying to hit the Zealot, they will just get hit with Dracodons. And if he's not careful, he'll even lose to the mines, right? So he's trying to lay more. Obviously, he did lose a vulture that had 2 mines earlier, so he won't have as thick of a minefield. But yeah, I mean, like, every time you see a Warden, just think it could have been a Dracodon, right? Like, assuming you had the 25 gas to spare, it could have been a Dracodon. It's the same mineral cost. Also, if you think, oh my god, a 6th one. Jeez, you're killing me, Ben. You're killing me. You don't need this many. Oh my god, a 7th Warden. Dude, what's happening over here? Oh, the bunker's landed. It's got a single Goliath in it. And, yeah, this vulture... I mean, there could have been a little bit more focus fire from Ben, but I'm guessing that based on that alone, he might be... he might... The contain may have ended. We'll see. It depends on what these Goliaths get done. By themselves, Goliaths are not super good against Dracodons. It looks like that one was just lazily rallied, so that's a problem. He could pick off the vulture specifically because, you know, well, he could do it anyway. I'm not really sure what they targeted initially, but... So, some of the stragglers will be moving backwards. Will this finally be... Oh my god, he's distance mining the low-yield patch. That's next level. What will he do? He has got so many Wardens, and he has no expansion. Because he built all these Wardens. He was actually skirmishing over here. So he's got one of the Goliaths down very low. That's always good because, like, the Terran basically has to send it home to get repaired. Or they just have to acknowledge the fact that they are going to lose it. Dude, where's the Ben? Ben, where are you? You've got queued units instead of a Nexus. Dude, you can build a Nexus. Based on the Warden positioning, he's got a sore spot here. Don't build another Warden, please save me. Yes, 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 expand. Thank you. Obviously, Shambler setting up his down here. Double mining from the geyser and from the ridge, so that will expand his ability to build additional Goliaths. That's probably why he took this base, because it's more mineral heavy. If he wants to end the game in the early stages of the game, then he can do so by pumping Goliaths, potentially. Vulture's trying for a run-by. He's going to be in for a fucking sore disappointment when he sees 7 cannons in the main, dude. This is so ridiculous. I mean, if I saw this, I would just... Or I guess it's 6 cannons, right? 6 wardens. There's another... Oh, my God, an 8th warden. Like... All right, listen. I know that people said static defense feels a little weak, but this is ridiculous. I don't know if you need that much. I'm not sure if maybe Shambler intended to cap this, because now he's only got 1 guy mining. Maybe he pulled them for repairs or something. So a bunch of striders stridently. And they are making their moves. They just want to hold the middle, it looks like, but obviously there is this area where you could just come down over here, right? So you kind of want to station where they were before. It looks like that's where they're going to go. And this number of Drakodins, I think as long as you if you even proc the mines, as long as you proc them 1 at a time, then you should be able to kill them. No, it looks like he staggers in a little bit of a silly fashion. He's actually trying to use the low HP one to get rid of that. So he actually has enough to bust. I know there's probably 2 Goliaths in this bunker. And you can see that the Shambler is a little bit concerned about this. So he's even going to pull Masons. And that's good. Like, that's pretty much the right decision. Still just 2 gateways for our hero, Ben, who is not really saturating his natural and is taking the back base. So they're going to be on the same base count, but obviously the worker count is in favor of the Shambler, we'll say. Second bunker going down. This is going to make the siege a lot harder. And so at this point, you know, Ben is just going to be happy to contain his opponent, I suppose. Of course, behind this, there's already gas being banked. Very soon, the Shambler will be on to Tier 2. And shortly thereafter, you would imagine maybe Madrigals, maybe Phalanxes. Maybe he'll just go for, you know, Apostles and whatnot. He's even instantly saturating the gases, which makes sense. Worker pathing being silly, of course. Those 2 mines still not doing too much. And yeah, because there's no ground path into the space besides through the main, you can't really contest it unless you have a transport or some air units or something. And there is going to be an Ardent Authority going down, which is an interesting choice versus Terran. You know, it has crowd control. I mean, I guess the Servitors are fairly good. They're like souped up versions of the Simulacra, except they don't split. But you still get a decent amount of them. They're sort of like souped up manifolds or something. You could imagine that. They deal a lot of damage, like a deceptive amount of damage. So if you were able to, you know, get them onto a worker line or get them into an open fight, then they'd be pretty good. They're not siege breakers, though, right? They're not a situation where you can drop a, you know, like a Cantor or an Architect or something and just start laying siege to the bunkers from afar. That's obviously the role of the sequestered icon. So as we see the map continue to play out, the match continue to play out, there's a little bit more pylon space there for Ben to add more production. He's keeping his resources somewhat low. The Atlas is nearly finished, as was foretold. Some clerics out here to keep the Goliaths battle ready. He's got 3 in total, well, as soon as that one finishes. And yeah, he's obviously capped the main gas and the nat gas, but no caps over here. Maybe mad caps in the future. That was what I was going to say. Maybe he just goes bio. I'm interested to see where he decides to go with this, but he's definitely in the lead, we would say, because, you know, the saturation is way higher for him. He's built way more workers. Ben has no gas harvesting in his natural and limited mineral harvesting anyway. Very limited ways to even spend his money. And so, yeah, he is going to go for the Servitors, it looks like. Got a couple of Zealots with him. Machine shops being added. That's 3 of them, in fact. Now, this is a little bit... I can critique the building placement here, because obviously the way that the rallies work is now they pop out relative to the rally. I think both of these Fulcrums, assuming they're pointed down here, are just going to spawn the unit over here, and then they have to go all the way around. So in order to counteract that, you probably want to take this Fulcrum and move it to the side or something, right? But it's siege time, so we can talk about boring shit like building placement later. These bunkers will be falling. There's nobody here to repair them. And so this is actually not a bad push right now. Of course, he's not focusing down the bunkers, and the clerics are also not being focused down. So 2 out of 3 bunkers ain't bad. Obviously, it is going to force it's a good timing, because obviously the Fulcrums couldn't be used to train anything because they were adding on at the time. Of course, he couldn't know that, but it just happened to be pretty lucky timing. We will see the captaincies. It looks like Shambler is aware that he has a lot of minerals. Of course, he did cap these gases in the 3rd. And we do see a 4th base being put together by Ben. So he kind of knows what he needs to do. He's not really, you know, getting his gas or whatever, right? He's only now realized, oh yeah, I can harvest gas from here and maybe from this ridge as well. But he recognizes that, like, the core idea is if I've contained my opponent, I need to be able to, you know, throw down extra bases, right? So that's something to keep in mind. Now, 3rd bunker. This is a sentinel being built over here. And phalanxes were being requisitioned. And so this is basically going to make it impossible to siege with the forces that Ben currently fields. Btyb, as he is known. Some wardens over here for anti-drop play. Makes a lot of sense. Now you can start to get into the point where you're building like crazy amounts of wardens. But in the early game, it's just total overkill, right? It delays you a lot. I would even like to see Ben take like this base, or maybe the mirror version of it, which is over here. Or maybe the other corner base. Like, you've got free reign on the map, and you've got decent amount of minerals, so you can start to do that. You could even drop an embassy at each forward base to build scribes faster, right? Double producing your workers. It is something that you can do. So this is another thing that I don't think too many Protoss players bother doing, but if you have the 50 gas to spare, then it's definitely worthwhile. He doesn't have any embassies, you would know, because he would have envoys to get his Acantors out. So he is going to build one, but just in the main. And the Acantors are here, but I think they're a little bit late, right? Like, I think, you know, you can definitely pressure with, you know, moving, you know, dropping something over here or whatever. But, yeah. And I know I said earlier that this base is really hard to hold if you're Terran. This matchup has not really shown that. But if you were actually getting attacked by siege a little bit earlier, you know, before you could reasonably hit tier 2 in any consequential amount, if you were, you know, trying to hold the space from being a Cantor dropped or having an architect over here or whatever, it's actually really hard because there's no height advantage going from this tile to this tile. So you could obviously just drop in a Cantor here and he doesn't receive a disadvantage from being on the low ground because the snow is also low ground. So that's something that's just like a kind of an engine limitation. We do have apostles out, by the way, and so that is obviously quite significant. More captaincies being put down. Most of them not really spinning, though. Like, in fact, none of them are. So he's going to order some madcaps now, surely. Or what is he going to do? Yeah, he's figured it out. Probably searching his keyboard for the key. And yeah, he's just going to keep adding them. Okay. So he's definitely intending to reach a critical mass of reviving madcaps. Well, fuck. What? I'm not sure what that means. Oh, he probably... I'm guessing he had an envoy and he ran it in here. That's what I'm guessing. Because it's long enough that an envoy could have been trained from the embassy, and then I don't actually see the Acantor. I see this Acantor, but there was one in the queue, and okay, there's two Acantors. Maybe not? Or maybe that is true. I don't know. Either way, he could try to land over here and get cheeky with it. He would be able to blow up the Sentinel fairly quickly with two Acantors, and then also the Goliaths. This Sentinel wouldn't be able to get in on the action, and then you could start to, like, you know, edge forward, right? And that forces a very long rotation of all the military units, which is pretty legit. So, in this case, the Vultures are just here to scout. Not really going to be able to lay their mines. That is actually something that this reminds me of, is there is a bug where... Oh, he's going to try to go over. I don't think this is going to work out for him. No, not at all. Unfortunate. That's well fucked times 2. But yeah, something that happens is that when vultures die, they respawn, and they're respawning with the apostles. They actually respawn with mines, even if they already spent their mines. Unloading is not different, but I suppose he's probably talking about having to click the transport UI. You can click the icon. You just have to target it. Unload all still works just fine. So he's probably a little bit silly. Yeah, so what I've just noticed, by the way, is that I could see that there were two Acantors in the Envoy, but I can't see what's in the bunker. So somehow the transport UI, specifically in replay mode, and maybe in witness mode as well, is broken for bunkers only? That's interesting. Phalanx is now starting to take pot shots that will result in a couple of dead units, and they will have to withdraw. Now, this still is really hard for the Shambler to move out. Like, if there were more if there were all 5 of the Acantors that I assume Ben trained, and he was trying to push out here, I don't know if he would be able to break it. With just one Acantor, it's a little bit easier, but still quite difficult. Now, we do have a Solarian on the way. It's an interesting choice. I think based on the composition, and maybe like Ben is now realizing this too as he's facing off against all the infantry, against the competition that is had over here, what you are seeing is definitely the need for AoE more than anything. So again, the Acantor are doing huge work, just popping like loads of units at a time. But there was only one of them, right? And, of course, at this point, I don't think a single Apostle is dead. I don't see any green blood. And so you would see the corpse being permanent there. I don't think there's any corpse consumption effect for Protoss, but if you wanted to turn the revive against your opponent, you would get Empresses from the synthetic synod, and that would allow you to... That actually is pretty legit, because it mind controls the unit, and it gives them a timed life, and when they die, they revive for the player that they were mind controlled for. So, like, in this case, Ben would mind control the units, and then they would all revive for him. And that's actually a fun way to sort of, you know, counter the effect, I guess. Of course, Aeons can start making that a very silly engagement, but we haven't really seen Aeons before. Now, we do have an Architect out. We do have the Solarians out, absorbing a lot of shots with the Stewards. You have to remember that. So actually, this attack is going to be held, I think. There's more coming, but they're obviously asynced. And no effort has been made to kill the Architect. No effort has been made to kill the Acantor. And so the AoE and the multi-target still continues to happen. Architect will finally fall with no micro. Second Warden being built over here. Solarian trying to retreat. The Acantor being the main source of crowd control is dead. There are Positrons coming out, which are decent at crowd control, but I'm not sure that they're good enough in this particular case. We do see a couple Apostles did actually die, but there's 4 more here, so I kind of highly doubt that they're going to be successful. You need way more crowd control to deal with this base. Now, he is still mining, although not really very much, from his 4th base. And so even if this Nexus ends up dying, or all the Scribes end up dying, I don't know that it's going to be sufficient. Positron should get focused down now, considering it is the source of crowd control, and the only source that was still had. And a Cantor is on the way, but it's going to be a while. And the height advantage really coming in clutch here for Ben, as more Wardens are being put down to repel this attack. Again, there's no, like, you don't really want to move your siege, your defensive siege, as Terran. And so that is going to be a tough situation for Shambler to actually break this, I think. You know, the Positron's able to be pretty solid over here. And the Acantor out as well means that you will see this attack being repulsed. So it's not over yet, boys. A second Solarian is out too, and I think it's kind of underrated. Like, I know Solarians I've been told that's, you know, by a lot of people, that Solarians don't feel very powerful. I think in this fight they've been absolutely unbelievably useful, because all of this infantry is busy killing the Stewards because they're not being controlled very well, and as a result, the Stewards, which are free and don't cost any money to rebuild, come back. Yeah, they're just nuts at that point, right? It looks like Clerics are still fucked when they revive, which is unfortunate. I'm sure you guys noticed the spinning earlier. But yeah, like, the Solarians here are in a situation where they're just, like, they're sat here, firing off shots, right, doing their thing, and it's like, if you're not going to focus down the Solarian, and it has decent armor, right, it has 6 armor, so if you're not going to be able to focus down the Solarian, what can you do? I'm not sure if those Scribes will have been noticed. That was a little bit risky. I don't know if he's just gonna... Yeah, he looks like he's gonna... he attack moved them over in this direction, but I don't know what that means. Yeah, he just, like, had them group selected. So he's not gonna take this base. There is a reviving Vulture over here. More Vultures just running around, seeing what they can do. I don't know what the fuck that was. That was probably a misclick. Because, let's be real. You're not gonna get anything done. You saw all the Wardens. And so, let's see what the Solarians can do when there's just 2 of them. Obviously, the Watchdogs here are gonna be pretty effective at nuking down the Stewards, yeah. And so, that's actually quite difficult to make them work. They will be able to kill the Goliath at least, and this might force, you know, a little bit of attention, right? The Madcaps are in now. This is the part that Solarians are not as good at, is actually sieging a position, because the Stewards get nuked down too fast. At some point, Ben will have to have the penny drop and fall back. It is kind of weird that Solarians are in that weird spot where, like, if you can use them to run cover and absorb shots for your opponent, but you can't really use them directly to siege. I do think that it probably means we just need to continue increasing the durability of Stewards. But, you know, it's sort of like Spider Mines, where there's been all of this random timer shit and, like, unit responsivity oriented things that have been improved, only for the like, as a result, it's a lot easier for units to actually shoot instead of getting confused. And units are being more responsive means that those Steward things are just going to fall out of the sky a lot sooner. It also is probably one of the reasons why ambient time to kill has been rising steadily, or has risen steadily. So now he's going to try with 3 Solarians, but there's way more units. They're going to start to be moved around. But yeah, I think he's just going to think twice about that. Like, there's too much focused damage over there. You could try to continue poking around. You know, there's like an area over here where there's only a couple Sentinels. You could definitely kill those Sentinels and then start picking off the tanks. The Phalanxes being on the high ground gives them +2 range, which is probably huge. Obviously, you can pick off like isolated groups like this. And, you know, obviously I would be targeting down the Apostles probably. But you know what? Whatever. Whatever works. And so, yeah, you know, these are still forces to be reckoned with to some degree. 4th one on the way as well. He's not building anything with these scribes. Like, if I misrally scribes and I have 4,000 minerals in the bank, I probably am going to be doing some wacky shit. What the fuck is happening over here? What is going on? Excuse me. Excuse me, sir. Oh, my lord. Good grief. Great googly moogly. Well, I guess that's why that base is hard to take. Jesus. There was a really well-timed siren there where I had to mute, and I took the opportunity to drink some coffee, which you can provide via the link in the bottom right-hand corner. Now, the Solarian is getting damaged quite heavily by the Sentinels, so you got to be watchful of that. Now the Madcaps are out to pop the rest of the Stewards, but he has exactly done what I said. He's driven back the Phalanxes. This would be an opportunity for a large ground army to move, or maybe additional heavy air to move in. He's got another Solarian. He's actually just going mass Solarian. Like, this is basically the mass carrier revolt, right? But he wants to see what he can do. Can he make it work? And you know what? At some point, they are going to get to an overwhelming number. He will be taking this base after all. He is going to go ahead and drop the Nexus. There's a high somewhere. I'm not sure what that was. He's in all caps. He's trying to basically occupy every base. And now all of the mines are being popped, so there's way less opportunity for Shambler to see what's going on, right? He probably feels very constricted to some degree. There's some mines over here. He doesn't even know that this base hasn't been taken. I heard some Warden shots, so I assume something was being... Oh. What the fuck? Alright, well, that command center is fucking dead. And, yeah, you can see there's just an army of Madcaps over here. At this point, I think you feel like you've contained the Terran again, right? He just tried to take this corner base and revealed only that you had it. You can just sit here and take all the bases like you are. There's an ant seal over here revealing another base being taken. Hey, look, you're popping bunkers. Like, the Stewards are free. They come back to you. So you can take this opportunity to poke in, right? I don't know if I like this style of gameplay, to be fair. Like, for a capital ship, it doesn't feel very capital, right? We can probably agree with that. But you can do it, and you are forcing Shambler to spend all of his money on, like, you know, defense and whatnot. Obviously, you could be testing the waters. His ant seal is all the way over there, so you could take your witness and move it a little bit closer and see what he's got and reveal that, oh shit, he's got nothing in the bottom. So yeah, like, there's definitely opportunity here. 4,000 minerals of opportunity, in fact, and way more minerals could be had if you've saturated this base. Like, you look at the worker counts, and despite the fact that Shambler is only on 3 bases, he has double the worker count of Ben. So he's got way more efficiency out of a lot of his workers. Now, obviously, there's a drop-off point, right? But you can have all the bases you want if you're not actually mining from them. That ain't so good, is it, homie? Where is his attention even focused at this point? He's building Solarians out of all the bases, building a Cantor, you know, building more Zealots. He's trying to keep his money kind of low, right? He has gone down to 3K instead of 4K. And look, he's tickling this base some more, seeing what he can do. You'd go after the buildings if you could over here. There's a lot of Stewards this time around, but you would especially go after the buildings because they aren't going to revive. On top of that, if you could maybe focus down the Sentinels that are doing all the AoE, that would also help. But he is slowly chipping away at this base. It's just at this point, now you got to come back, go back home, you know, come back with some more Stewards in, like, you know, a little bit, right? They don't take very long. He's actually going to try, he's going to try to target down the Apostles, but it's not going to work very well, I'm afraid. That's probably very, what would you say, disorienting or demoralizing, right? But if you think about it like I have these free Stewards that just give them back to me all the time, then yeah, like at what point do you say, all right, it's fine. Now, this whole time I've been like trying to keep track. There is tier 3.5 already done for the Shambler. And he's getting an Iron Foundry and an Ion Cannon. The Ion Cannon is what I was hoping for. But the Iron Foundry is a little bit puzzling. I guess he could go for, you know, Clarions or something. There already is an Ion Cannon finished over here in the front. I'm not sure that it has enough range to... Okay, it does seem to have enough range to continue targeting stuff, and there is a clump over here. But it targeting the Solarians, obviously it softens them up for an eventual defeat. However, it's not killing all the stewards. And at this point, you could just focus down the reservoir to drain the gas, right? You definitely don't want to keep fighting in the ion cannon field, though. So this is dangerous. Another ion cannon being built over here. He's going for workers instead of infrastructure. That's not going to be the main thing that you want. And at this point, he's committing all of his Solarians. Like, this is actually really awkward because the Madcaps can just turn around and go fuck him up, right? Like, this is a big... I would say this is a big mistake, potentially. And more ion cannons being finished means that this force is definitely dead if you continue committing to it. He's probably lost most of the stewards at this point. Like, this is really rough, man. This hurts to watch. I'm pretty sure all the Solarians are going to die without really accomplishing too much. Now, if they had flown over the workers there, then they actually would have killed a lot of the Masons. It's not far enough to actually reach with the damage field. But yeah, they don't even accomplish, like, suiciding. There's, like, a little bit of a suicide hit over here. But they don't even... That was from the stewards. And so, yeah. I'm not so sure that that actually works. That's annoying. Yeah, well... The amount of money I'm seeing for our players is similarly annoying. You got the little dance happening over here. It's because they revived at some point and then never fixed. Maybe you can issue a stop order to fix that or something. I don't actually know, but either way, we should issue a fix order in the code. So there is gas being harvested, but this base was up for like 10 minutes or 8 minutes or something and was never actually harvested from. So again, this is sort of like what I'm talking about, right? We're still at like almost double the workers for Shambler, and a bunch of the workers for Ben are not mining. He's still not switching away from Solarians, it looks like. He's got, I know he has, so he has 3 and a 4th on the way. He can still use them as devices for, you know, denying expansion and whatnot, and keeping the contain locked. But this command center is now going to lift over there and see what it can accomplish. I'm not really sure how like the intention seems to be to use the Anticathons for the purpose of, you know, keeping his army perpetually alive. Obviously, in this case, the Servitor has been given hold position orders. Hey, hold position orders are totally fixed, by the way. That's an awkward ion cannon hit. I'm not even sure. He must have spotted him from a mine or something. That can't happen. Vultures and ion cannons. What a happy marriage. Now, again, if you just go for like heavy air, like golems, I mean, sorry, heavy ground at melee, heavy melee, you go for golems or something where they charge in the less shields they have, that's like suicide for any of the army. Like, look, you're going to start to see it here with the Amaranths, I think. Although I'm not sure if the target will be locked in long enough. It doesn't look like it. There was a little bit of a shot over here where, like, you can see it actually hurt a lot of the military. Oh, Acantors. Oh, Iquare. You mischievous demon. So now it looks like the ion cannons are going to go ahead and shoot some more Solarians. Solarians are going to be called to the front line to riposte this attack. This isn't really that scary. You pretty much just mop it up. However, the ion cannons being able to hit you from so far away is obviously quite scary. Now there you go. The Steward's actually not making it too hot here for the Terrans, because the ion cannons are hitting that, right? The ion field underneath only affects ground units, but obviously the main projectile still deals 200 damage, so you do have to watch out for that. And there you go. The wreckage is complete. Couple last shots for good measure. And the Anticathon now moving to the front lines. There are 2 more being made. 4,000 minerals for Ben. And a little bit more gas than Shambler. Almost 4,000 for Shambler. Is he even using his captaincies? I was going to say his madcap production facilities, of course. That's basically what they are right now. This base still not being mined. This ridge still not being mined. You had this insane pathing, which is hilarious. And then you have this, which is not being fully saturated. So definitely a lot that could have been better here for Ben this game. And he had the right idea, right? Like, a lot of the ideas were correct. He tried to contain, tried to attack. But, you know, maybe Solarians are in a bit of a weird spot. Also, maybe they were just used for a task they are not really fit for. And on top of that, he allowed Shambler to sit pretty on a bunch of bases. Like the bottom here was so seldom defended for so long that you could have just come in here, destroyed the reservoir, destroyed the command center, and then forced him to rebuild. That would have obviously significantly reduced the staying power of the army, the ability to tech up and whatnot. But I think at this point, the game has probably gotten away from him. He's going to target this base, which is rich in gas, even though, of course, we know that this is not really being saturated and has insane pathing. And the Solarian will be the first Herald of the Doom, and that's not to be confused with the Herald unit, which has not been produced by these Grand Libraries yet, as far as I know. So, what will be the response? Is there going to be a response? The Anti-Chthon is very slowly waddling over here. It's probably the first time that Castover has ever seen an Anti-Chthon, actually. Maybe an AI Castover? Not sure. You don't really respect it too much for its damage, although it does have pretty good multi-target, right? You can see it's also got very good range. It's mostly notable for the fact that it revives units. Although, at this point, it doesn't actually seem to have gotten any revives. There looks like to have been an attempt. Oh no, the attempt is just starting. Well, you definitely don't stack your air units over ion cannons, like in the range of ion cannons, where they will just get shellacked. I'm impressed. I even got... Well, yeah, that's right, Ben. You had a lot of good ideas, and you did try, but you never retook the space, you never saturated your bases that existed, and you took a lot of resources worth of Solarians to attempt to contain. I think at this point, like, something that would have been pretty legit is probably Didax. Oh, well, there you go. Shambler is mentioning it. So tools to break this. I mean, the ion cannons, like, Shambler's actually talked about how Lanifax shut down ion cannons quite well. But in this particular case, I don't think you would have seen the Lanifax get close enough. That being said, if you paired the Lanifax with the Solarians to disable the enemy defenses and units, that could have been pretty legit. You also could have cloaked them with Didax on top of it, making it even harder for the Lanifax themselves to be popped. Because there was no detection. There was like one Anseal that was in the middle of fucking nowhere. I don't even know where that is. And, yeah. Oh, it's gonna die. Oh, so expensive. So careless. Don't worry, I think there's more. Well, there's 4 more, but they're all in the base. A very exoinsive unit, yeah. So, that actually is going to have ramifications for breaking the siege, but I think it's GG. We can pretty much see that. And so, congrats to Shambler for winning another game. Cool to show off the Anti-Chthon, even though you didn't actually show off how it worked or what it did. It would have just trivialized the ability to siege this base with its fucking 15 wardens. I'm so incredibly impressed with the warden count. But yeah, no, obviously, clearly, Ben is improving in terms of his understanding of the game and like what to do. He's got the right ideas. He's learned from some of the castovers and watching some of the games. But he will need to do a little bit more, shall we say, I guess practice drills or something. He'll need to, you know, maybe familiarize himself with the tech tree a little bit more and see what else he can do. I think the biggest thing that hurt him here is his worker count. Like, again, 3 bases, almost 90 workers. That's probably a little bit overkill for the worker count for Shambler, but you can see the results of at least, like, better to have more than less. And, like, if you have too much, it's way better than having not enough for workers. And I think Ben will hopefully take that to heart. He's also got so many minerals, he could have, like, flooded the map with servitors or with, you know, grand libraries for the benefit of amaranths and stuff. Like, definitely could have done things. And so in this case, he's just going to spin. And that's fine. Oof. In fact, I think the fact that Shambler didn't showcase the Anti-Chthon's actual purpose is going to make Ben feel like the Anti-Chthon's purpose is unrelated to what it actually is. Hey, he's getting a Monument of Sin. It's almost done. He's not going to be able to afford a unit. I guess he could afford 1 unit, but it's not going to finish, so. Height advantage here for the Anti-Chthon. Very spooky. What's he doing? Where's his focus at? What's he doing? He could be spinning this. Make it spin! Oh, there's no pylon now. It's over. Just as I was gonna cancel, it finished. Well, it didn't even look like you were selecting it, but that's okay, bro. I trust you. GG. And GG is called. So, what have we learned today? Definitely build workers, saturate your base, and watch porno go on YouTube. I guess that's the third and most important lesson. So here's the scoreboard. You can see there was a lot of witnesses that were computerized AI learners trying to figure out how to play the game. And I think the biggest thing is that, like, Shambler had more resource score despite having less bases. That's another way to really hit home on the lessons. Like, Shambler mined way more resources and spent way more resources despite being on less bases. And that just means that he saturated his workers, right? It's kind of like an elementary mistake from Ben, but something that I think this game should drill down on. And yeah, cool to see. And thanks to the guys for playing. Thanks to you for checking out Cosmonarchy Brood War and contributing as well by going to our Discord and joining us and playing some games and getting casted over on YouTube and making us all laugh and rage and salt and cry and wah. And that's it. Bye.